Hi, welcome to One Word a Day. I'm Sophie, your pilot into the universe of Chinese. I am going to share with you continually on the first recording in the morning. I'm not really clear-minded. Please bear with me. Last time we talked about the 文化苦旅, which is a book title. I translate it as cultural agony. It's self-reflection about the culture. In comparison, like in its position in history or in its position in the world. Okay, so today we continue with 苦,叫苦连天. So this is a 4-character that's pretty often frequently used in the vocabulary. 叫苦连天, you can see all 4 tones are in here. We consider the flat as first tone, rising the second tone, falling, the curved one, the third tone, and the falling the fourth tone. So there's the concept of 1, 2, 3, 4. So 叫苦连天, not in a sequence though, but the 4 tones all packed into this one phrase. Okay, one by one. 叫 I translate it as cry, but this is a highly versatile word that depends on the context. It can mean totally different thing. When you first learn Chinese, you could, I guarantee you come across this, what's your name, right? And what's your name in Chinese would be called what you would be called. And this called by someone else has used this word, 叫, like how other people address you. So that's 叫. But here, 叫苦, actually, if it pairs with bitter, that we learned is it's a taste originally, but then the emotion bitter, just like English. I think this here is a little bit universal, that people associate the not so pleasant taste with not so pleasant experience, right? But here, 叫苦 means you call it out, almost like you name it, you make it verbally identifiable, like probably, I mean, in the self-help books or emotional intelligence kind of, you can tell that I heard a lot of that. So I know, like one thing is about to name your suffering, right? So name it out. That's 叫苦, this 叫. And no surprisingly, it comes with 2 parts. The left part is the mouth symbol, just like in 苦. It related to eating or tasting something with the mouth, right? And the right side is a squiggly, like a 2-part squiggly thing, kind of interlocked, right? Kind of like that structure. So you have one part squiggly, and then you have a second part kind of locked into that. That's a Chinese visualized way to say something is entangled, something is not straight, something is need to be sorted out. So that's an interesting, I mean, it's my first time seeing this character and see how this interlocking structure or entangling structure was expressed. So entangling something with the mouse, and the turnout of this combination means something verbalized. So, okay, so we have several ways to imagine why this put together. So according to the results, so now we're kind of like going backward, like kind of reverse engineer, like a thinking process of why. The mouth symbol then in this context means something is speaking, something with speaking function, not eating, okay, speaking function. And then this entanglement or interlocking, I would view it as the vibration, the vocals, like very vocal, very dramatic. You know, Chinese have 4 tones, right? And this tonation will be more dramatic, vivid, so that you draw more attention. So it's the contrary to monotonous speech. Because normally Chinese, at least in the characters language that we discover, that emphasize speaking a lot, emphasize using your words wisely, and even pronounce your words evenly, like a flat tones, like your breathing, your air go out smoothly, so that things are not turbulent. But this, in this character, is the opposite of that. Things are more squiggly, it's more dramatic. It's not flat. So it's contrary to that. So this cry, even if I translate as a cry, it's a dramatic vocalization. Okay, so that's kind of attention, like need to draw someone's, draw attention to someone's self. So that's cry. So, okay, I guess we have a lot of cry, 叫 in the Western culture right now, right? So that's the kind of cry of kind of voice out, because this trend or movement to make your voice heard. So that's kind of can relate to this concept of 叫. Okay, 连, we had that one before. It talks about walking, comes with the foot sign and the 3 footsteps together. So by the foot itself, it's standing still. And then with the footsteps, the 3 repeated pattern, it's guaranteed that you're actually on the move. Otherwise, how are you going to see your footprint, right? So that is a smart way to combine the 2 elements to show you spatially or temporally things are actually moving with your foot, and it's human foot, right? So it's walking, guaranteed walking there. And then we have the spoke, the wheel in the middle on the axis, and with 2 stoppers on the end. So that's a super simplification of how the car, the ancient wheel working. So it's a carriage. It's a walking carriage connection. That means it's the type of carriage that's pulled or manpowered by man. It's not by horses. So horses are probably preferred because they're faster. They're more, horsepower than humans. Humans only have manpower, right? And so this humanly pulled carriage is this character's origin. And that continue or connection, 连, basically means connect. I would view it as the man and the carriage, they have to be connected for the man pull it, right? So there is this connection mechanism, it's a mechanical part to put the manpower, attach the manpower to the structure, the wheel work. So that's the origin. And eventually this work means connect, means continue, because it has to be like one thing move, the other thing have to move with it. So that's continue as well. In this context, I translate it as continuously. 连 means several days together continuously. If you have this one day, you're going to expect to see it the next day, the next day, the next day. That's the kind of continuously. And 天, as I translate as a daily, but originally it just means sky. And we use sky to mean one day. So if we see the sky in this blue color, it's one day. Eventually it becomes daily. And the sky comes from this human figure. And here, this arch, we can view it either as standing up tall person with kind of a muscular arm kind of sticking out, means a strong big guy, right? And then the horizontal line means the sky limit, there's something that's over the top, like you can never get on top of the sky, right? That's just one thing that's always over you. And this arch, second way, I view it as the spacer. So this is a big space there, like between the human, because sometimes the language is kind of stacking up, string together, structured, not exactly as the spatial sense. So spatial correctly, it will be the human figure down below here, and then there's a big spacer there, right? And then there's the sky. But because, I mean, we all know in living in a physical world that a human figure cannot ever touch the sky. It's visible there, but it's not touchable. So the spacer would make sense too here. That means it's a big arch. There is a big space between human and the sky. That space sense is, in my view, is critical because it's something to aim for, but it's something you never would reach, right? That's your living environment boundary. That's your human boundary, basically. So we sometimes use that upper boundary, 天, as that, in that sense, like 顶天, like that's the max that you can go. And 顶天 actually tied with Chinese legend, you know, somebody who served as the pillar, the tallest guy, the giant, served as a pillar to hold the sky up there so that it doesn't crash onto humans. That's the ancient way of society have to understand their world, right? So that's the story they tell, how to make sense of that. 叫苦连天, 天 then here becomes the time concept of one day, because that's one sky day that you can see. Because 天 sometimes we also not only view in the spatial sense. Let me see, how am I going to explain it? How we make it into daily. Because in a daily sense, like Chinese also use 日, right? 日 is like one day you see the sun. That's a counter of, okay, you see the sun from beginning to the end, sunrise to sundown. That's considered as one day, right? Sometimes we use sun symbol as the time denominator, not denominator, but unit as a day. But sometimes we use 天, or more frequently use 天 in the contemporary Chinese as the counter of a day. So maybe because 天, whenever we see it, mostly it's the daytime, the sky, the spatial sense between you and the forever infinite blue color or gray color up there is visible, more visible than nighttime, right? Nighttime is harder to gauge how the distance goes, or even in nighttime, the distance looks wider, right? It's even more unreachable. So this sense of the spatial sense, eventually, because that's the visible boundary of humans, right? The spatial sense transferred into the temporal sense as a marker, a unit of day. 叫苦连天 then seems like somebody call out, actually draw attention to themselves with this dramatic vocal, right? And talk about how bitter it is. And 苦, I explain it as Chinese medicine. This 鼓, not only a sound maker, but 鼓 means 10, number 10. This cross means number 10. The mouse symbol, 10 mouse, means 10 generations, means ancient. And then this is the grass, this kind of a cup thing with a short stem going through. That's the plant symbol. And two of them means plant. It's a named number of plants. So plant, so herbal, herbs, and ancient, herbs, means ancient endorsed herbs as a treatment of medicine, or this herb itself could be preserved over time, because just like wine making these days, right? I would imagine in the past, the Chinese medicine, some of the components would be preserved, regarded as time does something good to it. So basically, oxidization or other kind of processes that add time factor to it will make it more effective, maybe. So ancient plant means that herb was preserved, kept in over time. So you can imagine it's not fresh anymore. So it would come with that bitter. So either Chinese medicine is bitter, or plant that's stale, like preserved for a long time, that's going to be bitter. In any case, both scenarios would describe the sense of bitterness where it came from. So 叫苦连天 simply I translate as whiny. I searched what kind of context people would use that. And you can see, I mean, among all these Chinese, I hope you can read at least partially, but these 4 characters are here. I can read it out. The translations is here, and it's contemporary. It's 2022 commentary, and it's a YouTube title on some. I guess if you want to search it out, you can search 叫苦连天, and then you can pull up this this YouTube. So basically, it's 没有人消费, nobody consume, nobody buys anything, and 活不下去了. Chinese like to omit, like don't mention the subject matter. 活不下去, like who was ignored here, but it just subcontext would be in this context, 没有人, right? And then that means everybody, nobody, again, like 活不下去了, like they cannot continue like this anymore. And then they say 老板们, 老板 are bosses, and 们 is our plural form added. 老板们, bosses 都叫苦连天. Even they are whiny, even they are, getting bitter, complaining. I translate as getting bitter because it is kind of corresponding to this bitterness. There's definitely this sense of this is life treating me unfairly. It's just so bitter. The emotion, the situation, the verb, the context is about bitter, the sense of suffering there, and the bosses are complaining about this. Basically, it's even it's neutral, it's like complaining about. If adding a little bit of flavor to it, I will be getting bitter or be whining about it. And then 没有生意只好躺平. 没有生意, 生意 is a business transaction, so there is no transaction or business ever. So 只好躺平, 只好, so only way. 好 is good. The only good way, basically, is lie flat. We talked about lie flat, the keyword of the time, the zeitgeist of the time, at least in China, is lie flat. Like you cannot really do anything. It's so confining. The conditions are so bad, and people are not going to survive. So this is the context. This phrase was used in 2022. 叫苦连天. Okay, cash into the currency of thinking by one word a day with Sophie. See you another day.